Welcome to Between Soul and Sky. This is a soul-centered invitation to a spirit-led, soul-inspired podcast dedicated to guiding you on the evolutionary journey of the soul. Here's your host, Ricky from the Star Whisperer.
Welcome to Between Soul and Sky, the podcast. I invite you, I welcome you to this beautiful and such a soul-inspired sacred space to explore the journey of your consciousness through different spiritual approaches, through astrology, through different self-realization practices, to guiding each individual to leaning more deeply into understanding who they truly are. If you're new, my name is Ricky. I'm from the Star Whisperer, and I'm the host here of Between Soul and Sky. And this first episode is just an introduction of what's to come. I look at the first episode as almost like a reclamation, a reminder, a moment and opportunity for us to come to see who we truly are. Because when we are in this physical body, in this life experience, we are here to remember who we are, our truth, that soul truth. And so I invite you, again, this soul-inspired, centered invitation is to help us reunite and understand our own soul nature. And so whether we're doing this through self-realization practices, whether we're doing this through spiritual practices, religious practices, I welcome all of this here in this space so we can learn and explore these deeper realms together. And again, I am a practicing evolutionary astrologer, and I'm really passionate about exploring and understanding the evolutionary journey of the soul, not only from an astrological perspective, but from a deeply philosophical perspective as well. I've studied with a wealth of different individuals in this lifetime. I have done many retreats with different swamis. I have done different meditation. I've tried so many different experiences, and I've met so many amazing, beautiful souls that I'm here to bring them all back to you so you can experience the magic as well. I always invite you, in every episode I will bring this up, if you have specific questions about the evolutionary journey of the soul, something that you think could be beneficial for other individuals, please reach out to me over on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Send me a message and let me know what are those burning, deep soul questions, and I will do my best to answer them in the following episode every single time. I'll make sure that I take the time to look at those questions or find the right individuals to talk about these subjects, especially if I feel like there's going to be a large amount of people that want to talk about that. I will gladly make sure I spend some time. So again, I'm always open to questions, so please bring them forward. So one of the things that I wanted to get into is, why did I create this space? Why did I want to create Between Soul and Sky? And to be honest with you, this has been a long time coming. I've been wanting to create a podcast that blended both not only my astrology passion, but also my desire to explore the realms of consciousness and the soul journey, which is why I am an evolutionary astrologer. And as I've gone through this evolutionary journey and learning and exploring astrology has led me down such a deeply spiritual path. And so what I always want to express is that if you are someone that I've done a reading for before, you know that I've said this before, that your personal chart is not a definition per se of you. Many times we will see on social media how we get mapped out to be this person because our sun sign is in Aries or blah, 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 blah. And I don't subscribe to those proclamations. I have a very different perspective when it comes to astrology. And so I hope that through these episodes together, you get to see how I utilize and see astrology as such a powerful transformative tool for the soul's journey. So if you're new to evolutionary astrology, I should mention that evolutionary astrology is the evolutionary journey of the soul. We are really here to understand that every individual in this life is incarnating into a physical body with a specific intention. And in evolutionary astrology, we look at a natal chart as the opportunity for us to understand, well, what is the soul's intention? There are different approaches to how different evolutionary astrologies look at this, but some of the most important placements in evolutionary astrology are tied to the lunar nodes and Pluto. But At a larger scope, we can see the natal chart as the larger compass of the soul's journey. And it's a beautiful thing to think that the soul is incarnating into this physical body. And the reason being is there must be some sort of unresolved material or matter that the soul is trying to resolve. I always like to explore and explain that the soul has a beautiful relationship with the ego. And there's going to be an episode where I talk a lot about the relationship between the soul and the ego. This is a very complex subject that I think many people could benefit from exploring together. And in evolutionary astrology, we look at the archetype of the ego as a creation of the soul. That the soul created the ego structure because the soul understood exactly what is required and needed in this incarnation for the ego to grow and evolve beyond what it was unable to do in its past life. And we're here with the intention of being able to integrate, learn, and evolve one's consciousness. And I wanted to create a space, a safe and soft, beautiful space for us to explore these concepts together and answer your questions and bring people from all around the world and all walks of life to have these conversations together. So I, again, invite you to reflect on your own personal journey. Where are you right now? What's going on in your life? Where are you potentially experiencing that sort of evolutionary moment where change is trying to occur? You know, change is not always easy. Change is a difficult beast for many people. And sometimes change, I always like to describe as like the universe throws little rocks at us, little pebbles of opportunity to grow and evolve. But sometimes we're not ready for those pebbles. We're not ready for those moments to evolve. So we resist. Through those moments of resistance, we start to allow the momentum of resistance to build, which then becomes the boulder that wakes us up when we're like, oh shit, that hurt. I needed to learn something. I needed to embrace that change. And that's something that unfolds. And we can look at this through all different lenses, from evolutionary astrology, from different philosophies around the world. And so I think something that could be beneficial is that I just want to say my personal experience in this. I've been through a lot in the past couple of years. You know, I share this story that back in 2020, I feel as if many respects, many of our individual journeys went through a very, very difficult experience. And I was on the receiving end of some of that. I remember having a successful marketing business at the time. And I remember having to close down that business. I remember being threatened by a client saying that they were going to punch me and my best friend in the face if we did anything. And we ended up having to walk away, and that was a huge financial loss because they owed us money that they never paid, which put me in a very difficult situation, a living situation. I was in a relationship that ended. I had a parent that came out of remission. And it all happened within a 3-day period. Well, I look at my astrology and I said, oh, wow, this explains what's going on in my life. I see a Pluto transit happening. I see a Uranus transit happening. I see a Chiron transit happening. And I'm like, wow, it was an activation. In the moment, it didn't feel like an activation. It felt like hell. It felt like everything was falling apart. When in reality, everything was starting to come together in different respects. One of my favorite books that I love that truly helped me during this journey was the book When Things Fall Apart from Pema Chodron. And if you are listening to this right now and you're going through a difficult cycle in your life right now, whether it's a relationship, a marriage, a divorce, a family member who's sick, When Things Fall Apart is an amazing book to give you a perspective. And I embraced the meditations. I embraced and leaned into that area of my life. And I ended up becoming friends with the spiritual journey. I ended up integrating and engaging with what Pluto was trying to teach me. I remember seeing Pluto in my chart for the first time, and I was like, oh, yeah, this had purpose. This was painful. This was messed up. This wasn't a punishment, though. This wasn't like something I did wrong. It was like a portal. It was the invitation to connect and unite and understand the soul's intention. And we all have this opportunity. We all have this space in our life. And everything that we go through is an opportunity for us to lean in. I was listening to an individual the other day talking about different Vedic practices, different Vedic astrology practices. And one of the things that the gentleman said is that when someone is removed from your life, when a divorce happens, a relationship ends, or a career is taken away from you, or you get fired, or whatever it may be, whatever the circumstance is that you feel as if something negative is happening, he said, let's reframe our perspective to say, no, this is God, this is the universe, this is the Creator making room for itself in my life because I didn't have enough room for it before. And when we can open our arms to moments in our life and lean in with faith and trust, magic can happen, and we are evolving our level of consciousness. So, what may you gain from listening more to this podcast? And I'm hoping at this extent you're already captivated, you're intrigued, and you're ready for more. This podcast, Between Soul and Sky, we'll have some astrology conversations here. We'll talk about transits. We'll talk about the monthly energy. We'll talk about the tarot. We're going to talk about soul contracts, relationships, soulmates. We'll talk about understanding karmic dynamics, breakups, divorces. We'll talk about everything in heartbreak. We'll talk about the gene keys, mysticism, different swamis and monks and different priests. And we'll have people from all walks of life and faiths coming in to bring different perspectives, all pointing us in the same direction. Most of all, I think my ultimate goal is to help us understand more deeply the understanding of what the truth is. Now, I'm not here to say that what I know is the truth, but I believe that by bringing us all together with all different walks of life and all different faiths and beliefs, we can put something together that looks really good and feels really good. I remind us all that are here today that you are not broken coming into this. You are energy in motion. You are in a state of becoming. And that's beautiful. You should be proud of yourself if you're here right now with me being able to have this space and this conversation, because this is scary shit for people. This is difficult for some people. This is not easy. But you're brave enough to face and look at yourself and have these deeper, darker, difficult conversations with yourself because you understand that in this walk of life, it's not always rainbows, buttercups, and butterflies. There's going to be challenges, but there's also beauty. There's also light. It is accepting unconditionally the walk of life that we selected for ourselves. And so in this podcast, my goal is to bring us through the journey from the skies to the soul to what's happening on earth. To bring us together and to create a community where we can be there with each other, hold space for each other in a deep, soulful, meaningful way. And so if there are specific astrology topics, different spiritual subjects that you'd like me to get into, different individuals that you'd like to see, or questions that you'd like us to get into, I again encourage you to reach out to me and let me know what your thoughts are, because I love engaging. I love hearing what your thoughts are. And if there are specific episodes that I'm going to be talking about that you have questions about, send me them even after you listen to the podcast, and I'll make sure I answer them in the future. My goal is to make sure that all of us come here, and if we have questions, we get our answers and our confirmations or our validations. So, I just want to thank you again for tuning into podcast 1 with me, or episode 1. And I'd like to end today with a affirmation and a blessing that I wrote. And this is to bring it all together. And so wherever you are, however you're listening to this, I invite you to just close your eyes and take a deep breath for just a moment. And my blessing and affirmation is, may you trust the divine timing of your becoming. May you soften into who you are. May you remember that your chart is not your cage. May you remember more deeply who you are. May you remember what home is. May you remember you. You are becoming and you are beautiful. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wish you all the best. And for now, my name is Ricky from the Star Whisperer. This is the official first episode of Between Soul and Sky, and I hope to see you in the second episode with more beautiful, deep, soul-inspired information just for you. Goodbye.